Black Hollow had always been a quiet town, hidden deep in the Appalachian Mountains. The air was thick with secrets, and the people, reserved and quiet, kept to themselves. Over the years, people began disappearing. First one or two individuals, then entire families. The town whispered about it, but no one dared to investigate. People just vanished, no questions asked. Eliza Donovan had always suspected something was wrong, but it wasn't until her best friend Hannah disappeared that she decided to uncover the truth. Now 22, Eliza returned to Black Hollow, her mind sharp and filled with questions. The more she dug, the clearer it became something dark and ancient was behind it all. The townsfolk had a story, a tradition they spoke of with both reverence and fear. They called it the harvest. Families had disappeared, taken as part of a cycle no one ever questioned. But Eliza did. Her investigation led her to the old church at the edge of town. Abandoned for years, its doors were now ajar. A faint light spilled from inside. Without thinking, Eliza stepped in. The air was thick with dust, and something deeper, something sharp, scraped at her senses. As she moved deeper into the church, her eyes caught sight of old yellowed newspaper clippings pinned to the wall. The headlines made her heart race. Mysterious disappearances in Black Hollow. No clues found. Local families vanish. Town silent. Folk talk of strange rituals in the woods. The articles were scattered, jumbled rumors of strange events. People slipping away into the night, but nothing concrete. No answers. Just dead ends. And yet something gnawed at Eliza. There was a pattern. Something bigger was at work. Eliza's instincts pulled her toward the basement. The church had always felt wrong, but now, descending the creaky stairs, it felt suffocating. The hallway at the bottom was dark, cold. Musty air clung to her skin. She followed the faint glow of candlelight at the end, her flashlight flickering in her hand. As she approached the room, Eliza froze. A circle of candles surrounded a group of figures, hooded, motionless. They stood in silence, chanting in low whispers. The room hummed with an energy that pressed against her chest. Then she saw them, the harvesters, the people who'd been taking the townsfolk for years. But they weren't acting on their own. Their movements were stiff, controlled by something more powerful, more sinister. As Eliza tried to make sense of it, a figure stepped forward from the circle. A woman. Her eyes gleamed with an unnatural glow. "You came looking for answers, didn't you, Eliza?" The woman's voice was soft, comforting, a lullaby. Eliza stepped back, her body urging her to run. But the woman smiled, her eyes glowing with an eerie affection. "It's all right, dear. They've been waiting for you." A chill ran down Eliza's spine. They. The woman turned her gaze toward the shadows, and figures emerged. Figures Eliza recognized. The townsfolk. They stood motionless, their eyes distant. They weren't prisoners. They were willing. "We've all been part of the cycle," the woman continued, her voice warm. "The harvest. It's a blessing. We give of ourselves so that the town thrives. So we can all stay protected." Eliza shook her head. "What do you mean? What are you doing to them?" The woman's smile deepened. "We don't force anyone. They come to us when it's time. They understand what must be done. The harvest must continue." Eliza's heart pounded as she watched the harvesters move toward her, their hands reaching. She turned to flee, but the path to the door was blocked. More townsfolk. Their faces were soft, peaceful, as if they had accepted this fate long ago. "No," Eliza gasped. "I don't understand. This isn't right." The woman stepped closer, her eyes glowing. "There's nothing wrong, child. It's how it's always been. The harvest is necessary. We give back so that we can stay protected." A sharp coldness crept over Eliza. The air grew thick, suffocating. Shadows lengthened, reaching for her. And then, in that moment, she realized the harvesters weren't the ones doing the taking. They were the ones being taken, controlled by something far more ancient. The woman's voice softened. You've been chosen, Eliza. You've always been part of the cycle. The harvest will claim you too. Before Eliza could react, she was overwhelmed by cold. The harvesters closed in, their hands cold and unfeeling. The last thing she saw was the woman's serene smile, her eyes glowing. But there was no comfort in it. It was a trap. The room swirled around her as darkness overtook her vision. The last whisper she heard was the woman's voice, warm and endearing as always. "Welcome home, Eliza. Welcome to the harvest." The next morning, Black Hollow was as quiet as it always had been. Another disappearance, another name forgotten. And deep in the woods, the harvesters stood in the shadows, waiting for the next one.